you are known as a member of Flatbush Zombies. Now you are releasing your debut album. Why did you decide to work on a solo project, actually?
I didn't decide anything. Life decides for you sometimes. COVID happened. Flatbush Zombies did our album, then we did an album with Underachievers and did a group album. Then we dropped our own solo album. Then we did a joint album with Beast Coast with everyone, did a whole tour of that album, got back together to finish our next album. But COVID happened and a lot of things in life happened. So we all decided to take a little break for a little bit because the world kind of shut down. So when the world shuts down, you're in your solitude. And what do you do in your solitude? You do what you do. So it was just how it happened. We didn't really make a grand master plan. It kind of just worked out that way. Eric is always working on something alone, so that's not new. And it just kind of gave me and Juice a chance to comfortably feel like we can work on something without taking away from Flatbush Zombies, because we put Flatbush Zombies on a hold for a little bit.
Okay,
and not on a bad tent, but we all needed a break. We've been touring nonstop for like 9 years. If we didn't have COVID, we would have been touring nonstop for 11 years straight. So we kind of needed that break a little bit.
And if we have a look over the name of your album, it's called Gothic Luxury. Sorry, my pronunciation. What is the meaning behind the title, actually?
Gothic Luxury really just means, for me at least, it's about finding comfort in the darkness, essentially. That's really what it really means. It was really a mood at first for me. That wasn't the name of the album. The original name of the album was going to be called Cursed. That was one of the names I had in mind, but I didn't want to, words are so powerful. I didn't want to name my album something like Cursed and then have that associated with me for the rest of my life because, words are very magical. You have to be careful. So I decided to change that. And the name, it was just the mood. So whenever I would describe the soundscape or what I want to do visually to anyone that was working on the album, for me, they were like, yo, give me something to grasp. What is the idea of the album? I would just say Gothic Luxury. And every time I said those words, people were like, you should just name that the album, because it kind of just rolls off the tongue, kind of. And it's something that's those words never been put together before for some reason. Because I've looked it up, I Googled it, I tried to, no one really said that before me. So, outside of the finding, comfort in dark times, I'm also just into like actual Gothic architecture, and I'm into all that kind of stuff too. So it's an aesthetic thing. I try to put my brain in like a world whenever I make an album. So like, let's just say the world that I was in this album was like black marble floors and gargoyle at the end of the structure of my house, and that's like the world that I built in my head whenever I make a project. I always build a world before I make a project, and this just happens to be the world that I made.
And besides Gothic, how would you actually describe the world that you made? So your album?
I would say grand. It's not too rich, it's not like you feel like you have to be too sophisticated to listen to it, but I do feel like it feels grandiose, it feels big, it feels glorious. But a lot of those words that I use are usually associated with positive things, but something could be grandiose and still be negative. It just feels big. You can still have a huge, Phantom of the Opera is a huge film production, and it feels nothing like Lion King, which is a huge film production. And to me, it's like, just because something's grandiose or big doesn't mean it has to feel like victory. I think that my album just feels kind of big and introspective, and there's a lot of musicality, I think, more than the average album right now. A lot of albums don't really even have live instruments at all. I had to strip away some of the live instruments on my project just so it didn't sound like a damn Roots album, So I don't really have the word to really fully describe it. That's for you guys to really tell me.
I mean, in your intro song, you kind of describe, let's say, Warren, give an idea what it's about, because you sang in a line, this album contains sex, drugs, love, and pain. And I was asking myself, what kind of love and pain would you say are you actually describing in this album?
Love is complicated. So love doesn't necessarily, there's no song about a person that I'm in love with on the album, but my love is on the album because I talk about people that I love on the album. I don't talk about our love. I don't talk about what we do with each other, but I do talk about how strongly I feel about my friends or my family or things. So that to me, love, sex, drugs, love, and pain to me is what I make in a nutshell. I feel like that's kind of what I do musically. Those are the topics that I touch the most. Even when I don't even consciously think about rapping about those things, those are usually the sum of what I end up talking about. As far as the drugs situation, I actually tried to do my best not to really talk about drugs on this album. It kind of happened towards the end. Unfortunately, I went back to my old ways, but I feel like it was important to get that in there too, just because I have a association with psychedelics. Flavors Zombies have a big association with that, and I want to make sure that even though I'm maturing and getting further into my, my catalog with stuff, I do want to still pay homage to the old me and the things that I still do enjoy doing. So sex, drugs, love, pain, I feel like everybody can relate to that. And the little fame is just because I have a little fame. It's not enough to change everything around me. And sometimes a little bit of something is way more challenging than having the whole thing.
To go back to the question, the thing that you described when I asked you about the meaning of the album title, I thought about it like this dark and light side, I would call it, especially in your single Levis Habits, because you say there, when I close my eyelids, all I see is violence, dollar signs, and diamonds, all of them colliding, which is like, I would say, the extremely form of positive and negative sides. And that's also how I interpreted the cover of the album. But I was asking myself, how would you actually describe your life?
I'm glad you noticed that. A lot of what I do is like, I'm big on duality. Even when I wrote that, I didn't kind of consciously compare, and I don't like consciously do duality thing. But when you say it back to me like that, I'm like, oh yeah, well, it does make sense because look at the cover, it's duality. It's like supposed to be good side, bad side. And I don't consciously think like that. It's just subconsciously who I am. Even some of my friends say, yo, you always will be the devil's advocate for everything. You always find the middle ground between this, like every single thing we talk about. So I don't know if that's my superpower or my super weakness. I don't know what the hell that is, but I wasn't even really conscious of that particular bar that you said. I wasn't even really thinking about it like that deep, but that's to me, that is what life is to me. Ups and downs, hot and cold, left and right, just literally, that's everything for me. I don't even remember the question. I kind of got lost when you kind of read my lyrics back to me. What was the question exactly again?
How would you describe your life, was the question.
Abundant in blessings, but I feel like I don't have enough time to enjoy everything that I have in front of me. It's hard to wear these much hats. It's hard to be a brother and a lover and an artist and a fan and a grandson and a son and a protector. Sometimes your life is set up where you're in a situation where you can thrive at all those things because everybody around you, everything is just clicking. The way it is right now in my life, it's kind of hard to wear all those hats. I'll be trying to balance so much in 24 hours. That's just my current life at the moment, but it all changes, seasons. There was times in my life where everything is clicking perfect and everybody is, whether or not everything is perfect for us, we have some kind of harmony as far as friends, family, everyone gets everything, everyone's doing fine. If they're not doing the worst, but everyone's, thriving at some point. I feel like now is a little, especially with everything that happened with COVID and everything, it kind of messed with time a little bit. So everyone's trying to get their shit back together. I'm big on being outside. I'm a traveler. I like to see people, touch people, So me being in the house for 2 years, not in the house, but just like being local, just it fucked me up a little bit. Made me feel like, damn, all that traveling I did in my life, I'll never take for granted. Like a dude where I'm from, bro, I was not supposed to have been all the places I've been. Like I've been so much fucking places. So I'll say well, my life right now is not what my life's going to be in 3 months from now. So, you know, this is just like a chapter. I feel like all of us are going through this weird transition as of recently. And I'm hoping that Gothic Luxury can open a new chapter into my life. So it's like a new story. And, you know, I have the Flapper Zombie story. I have my story, you know, but I want my musical story also. So I'm hoping that this new album could open just another world for me, you know. So my life could have new pathways. You do the same thing over and over again, you get the same outcomes. You do different things, different pathways open for you. And that's how you just advance your story. And I want my story to be like bigger and more beautiful and have more twists and turns instead of the same fucking shit over and over again.
And these two sides, let's say the positive and negative sides, I was thinking like the cover was kind of that as well, but I was not sure, maybe I'm wrong. So I wanted to ask you, what is the story behind the album cover?
I think that's how people view me. Some people think I'm dark and evil. Quite honestly, probably think I worship some dark spirits or some stupid shit. There's people who say dumb shit all the fucking time. And then there's people who think total opposite of me. My uncle was telling me a story about him. I forgot where he went, somewhere in Miami. He went to somewhere, he lives in Miami. He's seen some girl that had a Flapper Zombies tattoo. And he was like, she had a tattoo of all of us. And when he told her he was my uncle, she fucking lost her fucking mind and was crying and shit like that. And she's like, yo, he saved my life. Like the things he said changed me for, and I have so much, I've met probably at least over 2,000, 3,000 people with my face and my words tattooed on their body. And it's like, that's the angel. That's the good side to me. Like, and it's not about my face being tattooed. It's about my words and what I've said to them. And like, even if it's one phrase I have, own the day. The fact that there's so much people who live by that. They wake up every morning and say, own the day. They have a mantra that I created that. So there's people looking at me like that. And there's people who look at me like, oh, the raspy voice, scary guy that always talks about death. So they look at me as literally negative. My friend done sent me Reddit posts of people are trying to figure out if I'm a Freemason or some demon type. So there's both sides to me. And it's like, it's always been something I had to deal with. So the cover to me just speaks to that. And it'll be the last time I address anything like that ever. I don't know. I just have a dark presence. It is what it is, but not everything that's dark is evil. And that's what the idiots don't really understand. So that's what I think the cover kind of expresses. I don't really do social media as much anymore, but when I posted the cover, some kid was like, fucking Freemason, something. And I said, please, break down exactly how I'm. And he just couldn't answer. I even seen somebody say it under one of my other friends' posts, I start doing that now with people when they start to say stuff like, so-and-so's a sellout. I literally private message them and say, will you please explain to me how so-and-so's a sellout? And usually people don't know why they're saying things. They're just saying things. And I have a big found respect for knowledge. So I will never label somebody something unless I know exactly what that thing is. So the cover for me is like the duality is what people see me as, good and bad, you know, and that's what most of us really are. You think you're goody two shoes, but you're not. Like, you know, somebody's gonna get hurt, you know. But yeah, that's more for the people, because that's what I think people view me as, one or the other, never both.
I mean, about the importance of words, I would like to talk about your track Kill Us All, because you criticize the social and political systems, the media, politicians, and prison to doctors, to basically almost everything. And I was asked my thing, what brought you to this? That's
natural to me. Like, I can do a whole album with that type of stuff. I don't think people want to hear that though. Like, unfortunately, you know, because then they label you conspiracy theorists. I seen articles about the song, the Meechy's on this conspiracy, and it's like, it's not conspiracies. Half the stuff I'm talking about is legit factual. Like, why is it when people say things that it shouldn't even be riveting. It should be just, it's a fact. Nothing I said there, I'm pretty sure nothing I said there wasn't a fact. I might have maybe said something a little facetious or maybe a joke here, but like almost all that is a fact. So the fact that like, I'll see somebody say that song was a conspiracy song or like some rebel, and it's like, it's not rebellious, it's facts. There's nothing rebellious about this. My voice is rebellious, my energy is, but these are stone cold facts, you know? And it's kind of scary that that's how like people think. And that's like a big deal when it should be like, that should be a common occurrence. We should be talking about all those things more often. It's just, I don't think anybody's ever going to fit that much in one song like that. That's a lot to do. But that's why I did that, because I think my Stone Cold fans want a whole album of me saying that. But for the most part, the world doesn't really want or need that. So to me, it was like, let me just make one song that has everything in it. And I wasn't thinking about cramming everything in, but I was just gonna go as far as my brain could take me in that, with that beat. And that's kind of, I have some more stuff too, but it's like, those fit perfect. I think I touched a lot of important things. Yeah, I try not to be too political, because I don't like when people think a song is supposed to stand. It's like, it's not about necessarily standing for right. It's more about, because I don't want to be I'm not like a political rapper. I may have a view on something, but I never am like a political. So I didn't want nobody to take that song as some big stance for something, but it's just a fact. They can't kill us all. It's just showing you like, it's not just about me, bro. I know y'all think Black people always think the target's on them. It's all of us. We all got a target. Skinny people, fat people, trans people, short people, tall people, Asians, whites, Jews, Hispanics, everybody. There's something against all of us. There's something all of us. Because none of us are living here thinking that there's no set of people that feel like they don't have something against them. I've never met, not one. I've been all around the world. I've never met a set of people that are just like, nah, we're perfect. There's nothing. We have no history of nothing bad happening to us. We're not worried about this. Everything is fine. We all got our shit. So, that's why I said they can kill us all. It's about every single body. From the babies that ain't born yet, or every single person. And it's like, yeah, that song was a song that, honestly, that's one of the oldest songs on the project. I wrote that shit like almost 3 years ago. So,
But why don't you want that this song is understood in a political way? Because I understood it as well, but in a good way, in a way like that you are saying the facts that are needed to wake up the people out there, to say, let's change things, because there is a lot not working, and it's not only not working, it's going in a bad direction, like really bad direction. So why don't you actually want that people think like it's a kind of a political song?
Well, let me ask you about politics now. When you have politics, don't you have to pick a side? There's always a side on politics. It's never right or wrong. It's about who's relaying this message that seems right. It's never about what's right, because if it was about what's right, both sides will come together to do the right thing. It's never about what's right. It's always about this person winning. It's never about that. So for me, is once you make things political and you make a political stance, people think you're against them. Even if it's one thing we disagree on, it could be one thing. Me and you could be having a good time, and then you're like, you don't believe in this. You don't believe in interracial dating. I'm never talking. We can never agree on anything ever again. It's kind of like, bro, y'all agreed on every single thing till one. So I don't show my political stance, because it's not about that. It's about, what do you think in your soul? Not about no side that you're picking. As a human, this is about being human. What do you feel? What do you think? Not about what's right for your political party, your side, whatever, the people that's next to you. So that's why I don't do that, because people get really butthurt when you don't agree with them about things. It's not like how it used to. And this is why the old people used to say, we don't talk about sex and politics and religion, because that's all we talk about now, literally. And that's why we're fighting so much, to be honest, because people don't know how to sit down across the table from someone that's totally different faith and totally different sexual orientation, and just live and find the middle ground. It's like we always focus on the differences, and sometimes it's like you're not even really focused on the difference. You just want to be right so bad. You want to be part of something that makes it seem like you are a good citizen, you're a good person, but none of us are really good. Like most of us are okay. None of us are good. Most of us just are okay people.
I would like to talk about a line that you said in this song. You say it's crazy because America loved the Black Panther movie, but in the 66, they hated the Black Panther movement. So I was asking myself, since I'm not living in America, you think that the Black community in America has only superficial support, but when it comes to fundamental issues, there's, let's say, disinterest?
Yeah, because to some people in America, they think that we've been complaining and just complaining for years. They don't realize they make it seem like slavery was like 2,000 years ago. Some people are ignorant. They don't understand history, the history of the human race. And when you look at slavery was not that long ago. You know, civil rights was not that long ago. Like, it literally was not. I ask this question all the time. If you guys got a problem with people complaining about Jim Crow and civil rights and all, then stop talking about George Washington. Stop talking about this fucking Civil War. Stop. Because that's so long ago, right? Why are we still talking about it? They said that about, get over it, bro. You guys been free since. So if everything else in American history is so long ago, we should just dump it all away. It all doesn't matter. People cherry pick and choose what's important in history and what's important in time. We fucking still celebrate motherfucking all these other people, but we can't go back in time and be like, hey, we did something wrong and how do we adjust this? I don't even know how to adjust anything. I don't have any answers for that. But I do think that, like, America's so fucking tribal with stuff. Whether it's like skin color, then it's classism, then it's like, now it's just your sexual identity is becoming this whole new tribe of that too. So it's like all these fucking tribes that we have to fucking worry about. And then as a Black person, you can be a guest in all of those. You can be trans, Black, and something else that could make you an outlier. That's 3 outliers. So now when you're trying to fight 3 different battles now, you know what I'm saying? So I think with America, the problem is everyone has their fight, like I said, and no one really has the wherewithal to be like, hey, let's all sit down and all listen to each other. You people need this. You people need this. Okay, it's probably not possible we all gonna get everything we want. Where's the middle ground so we get stuff? Because for some reason, when some people get together, things get done. But when Black people be getting together to complain and do it doesn't. Things don't really get done. They do social media stuff. They'll throw Black people in the Coke commercial. They'll do shit like that, but they don't really, just no bills get passed for anything. Nothing. My father was killed by police. Shot 30-something times, 2020, January, on camera, seen with my own eyes. Then nobody did anything. Like, nobody does anything. I spoke to the same lawyers that represented George Floyd's family, all these people. Them people didn't want to do anything because I wouldn't publicize my pain. So I'm letting you know from experience, everything is political. Everything's about money, winning, perception. It's never really about the cause. They don't care about those people who represented George Floyd. They don't care about George Floyd. They care about winning and changing a perception of something. It's not about the human. And it's too complicated for me to have answers. I'm only 31 years old. You know, I haven't lived here long enough to really know. But yeah, it's very much of, here's how I put it in a nutshell. America's a place where, oh, you gave them that, what about us? It's never like, oh, you gave them that, well, they deserved it, hopefully we get ours next. It's never that. It's always, you gave them that, that's not fair, what about us? And that's everybody.
I mean, since you mentioned history, you mentioned it in this song as well. I remember that you said, actually, that what you explained now, that people are like flipping and changing the history, kind of how they want to tell it, let's say. But I remember as well that you mentioned that now, since the winners write the history, we will not lose again. And who exactly are the winners to you?
I'm a big fan of, like, I'm not saying I'm like some historian or anything, but like I love to question history or go back and, like, my favorite thing in time to do is like, when did this, all right, so let's say we were looking at some shit and it says, this happened in the 17th century. My favorite thing to do is go find out everything that is supposedly happened around that same time around the world and really rationalize, like, wait, so on this side of the world, they were doing this, but on this side, they were doing that. And I feel like history, we don't understand time. Like, if I told you something happened in the 1700s, you can't really fathom how far ago that was. Like, you literally cannot, you can barely understand how long ago it was when you were born. So I'm a big thing of history. You read all these books, you read all these stories, especially in the history books. They don't tell you what really happened. They word it a certain way. It's all bullshit. And like you said, the winners write history. The losers don't write anything because they're dead. And if there was a truth, the winners are going to get rid of it. There's a reason why they're warring against each other. And that's been going on since the beginning of time. Every fucking story we hear of some crazy shit that happened, the winners wrote it. We don't know the true perspective. It's rare. Because most of the time when you really, really lose, you're gone. You're out of here. So that's what it's really like, to me, like, people don't understand that also. So you always got to remember, it's like now being alive, I knew what it was like when 9/11 happened. So when I watch like revisionist history of how people think it went, I'm like, no, really was not like that. Like I was there. I remember how this happened. As time progressed, people keep adding new things onto stories and history or taking things away. But it's always the winners who do it. So yeah, that's just a quote that I've always heard since I was a kid. And it's just a fact. It just really is what it is. So you have to question everything you really hear. Take it with a grain of salt. Don't take it with a grain of salt, but try to find the other side of the coin, you know? If Christopher Columbus has a memoir and testimonials, who's the guy that was next to him? What was his memoirs like? Let's go read his too, you know? That's the kind of guy I am.
Okay, I mean, that's completely correct. But I would like talk about never forgetting now, because you address police violence in America there as well. But you say, among other things, I think peace, love, but display violence. What is behind this statement?
I feel like that's a lot of us. You know, you want things to be good. You know, most people are good people at heart, or not really good people, but people I think are not really good actually. They're just afraid of bad things happening to them, so they try to be good. So that's more of what it is to me. It's like you think positive thoughts, but I don't always show it because what I think is not who I am. I want to be peace, love, and that, but like when people look at me, or what I display is usually not that. I don't have, you know, my imagery is not kisses and gumdrops and flowers. My imagery is usually dark stuff. That's just how I am. So it's a duality in me. My mind thinks this, but you know, but my spirit is this, you know, unfortunately. Yeah, so that's really what I meant by that. It's like, I think good things. I want it to be positive. I want to be this, but you know, for the most part, I show this side of me, you know.
Okay. I mean, if I understood it right, the meaning behind the song, I understood it like that you describe in the track that the destiny of the Black community is already determined by discrimination, but you want to oppose this destiny. And if I'm right with that, how would you describe this kind of destiny?
Some things I say, and I might sound like I know where I want to go with it, or like, how do I say this? Sometimes I'll say something or touch on something creatively, but it's an incomplete thought. You know, it's like I don't really know the end goal of what this is. It's kind of like, wouldn't it be beautiful if this happened? And then I kind of just go on. I don't really think that deep or even really know where it's gonna go or where I wanted it to go. It's kind of just like a thought that I had, and I didn't indulge deeper on to be like, this is where we should be and this is what I want. It's more of just, because sometimes that's how a lot of our thoughts are. It's like, damn, man, just imagine if there was no poverty and everybody was happy. And then you kind of go on with your life. You don't keep thinking about that thought of how and the steps to it. The people who do that are the great people. You know, like I said, I'm just good. I'm not great. I have good ideas and good thoughts, but I don't think I'm that great yet. I have to tap into that bag where I can. When someone asks me this question, I actually knew the next step of my statement. Sometimes I drop a statement or idea and I just don't fully think it, which is kind of scary. I don't think of the full end product of it. And you actually brought the mirror. Like you showed me that to myself just now. You kind of put the mirror to myself and was like, what is this? And you expanded on my idea more than I expanded on it, to be honest. So I don't know if that answers the question or doesn't answer the question.
That's totally okay. Like just because you really sound like you have a big idea of, and a big idea of things in a deep way. So I was really like interested to know, okay, what is your opinion on certain things? So that's why I asked.
I guess it's hard to. I just want, for my community and my people, I like to use the word freedom because freedom ain't free. Mental freedom, like spiritual freedom. I know a lot of us think we are that, but like a lot of that has to do with like not limiting yourself and even believing that you can't do something. You know, I have a lot of friends that were more talented than me, better looking than me, more athletic than me, better voices than me, that didn't get to where I'm at in life because they didn't have that. They had a mental block on them. They had this block that they kind of put on us to make us feel like we can't be anything. And they kind of do it to you when you're really, really young. And I feel like my community, for instance, we need that more than anything. Like our imagination gets killed once we're like 6 years old. They kind of kill your imagination. Straight to reality, bro. Like that's it. It becomes reality. And I'm like, I want us to keep our childhood a little bit more. Like, you know, Black kids are looked at as Black men, like literally. So it's like my community is very, very important to like for me to like for us to maintain that innocence and that imagination, because that keeps that creativity. You know, that's how you get a Tyler, the Creator, and a Kanye West. Those kind of guys still have that jovial, childlike, creative shit in them. And we need more of those in our neighborhood. We need more of those people, because that's not just for art. That leads to like changing the world in general. So I think more on the creative side when I think about how we could change, because I feel like politics, obviously change comes through politics, but it usually comes through art, bro. As strange as it sounds, you know. It's usually when there's a artistic renaissance, there's a change in politics, then there's a change in the world. It always goes hand in hand. You look at the 60s and the 70s, look how crazy the music was and look how crazy the world was. They go hand in hand with each other. So yeah, I think I'm very good at answering your question, but not answering it at the same time.
Yeah, but still you're saying important things. So I still like your answer, because you kind of answering it still. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How does it feel that Gothic Luxury will be released soon, actually?
It's weird. Still haven't fully wrapped my mind around it. I think I'm gonna really realize until like 4 days before it comes out. But it feels good to have something, you know, could have something I can say I did for myself, with myself, obviously with the help of some great people. But like, I never really did anything strictly just for me ever. For the most part, everything I really do is like with friends and family in mind, or like, you know. So this is the first thing I can honestly say, like, this is all me. I manned this ship, and yeah, that's new for me. I've never had that before. I've had a few solo songs, but I have a whole album, a whole everything, trying to do a whole tour by myself, and everything is kind of, it's new, and it's hard to tell someone how the movie is going when you're in it. You kind of gotta end production, and then I can sit back in the movie theater and watch it with everybody. Then I can tell you, oh, this movie sucks, or this movie's great. And I feel like I can't tell you until it comes out, and I get to watch the reaction with the world.
I mean, you already talked about your tour now, because it would be in my next question. Is there already other solo projects that you have already planned to do?
Yeah, I got another one. I'm like a quarter done with right now. I hate saying numbers because somebody's gonna see this and say, you said you were a quarter done 250,000 years ago. But like, I got another one. And then just waiting for Eric and Juice to get theirs out also. And then we can get back to zombie business. But I got another project on the way shortly after this. A little bit more psychedelic, a little bit more trippy and fun. Not as dark and somber. But who knows? I might change my mind and make it just a whole different album. So I don't really know. I got to see how I feel after this comes out.
But I don't think that this album was that dark, obviously. I just think it's truthful. But I mean, everyone should think the way they want. So since we have like less than 1 minute, I would love to just like ask one question more, because I would ask myself so much about that. Because in What If, you're asking like, you're talking about scenarios, like what happened if this certain thing happened or not happened. Is there like, because there was 1 or 2 points in particular in this song that got me thinking a lot. So I was thinking, which of the scenarios is the most important to you for listeners to hear out and maybe think about it?
Probably what if Jesus came back and he tried to save the day? They probably call him schizophrenic and lock that nigga away. Because to me, that's exactly what would happen if Jesus did come right now.